In this video, I'm going to go over how this Warframe went from 0 to hero. What's good, folks? It's WARFRAME here with a new Warframe video coming at you with a Grendel rework overview and new builds that nuke Steel Path. Before I start, please comment down below on what you enjoyed most on this update, Grendel or Varuna, or nothing at all. Anyway, wasting no time, let's get on with his abilities and passive. First ability, Feast, has Grendel consume enemies and use them as a resource. He's able to consume a maximum of 5 enemies. His passive grants him an additional 250 armor per enemy consumed. This armor bonus is additive to modded armor. While enemies are in his belly, they begin to be devoured, slowly being killed by Grendel's digestive system. By holding down the ability, it will spin out enemies at no energy cost and deal toxin damage, scaling with enemy level, with a 100% chance to proc the toxin status effect. And if Grendel runs out of energy, he will automatically spit out every enemy consumed. His second ability, Nourish, has now been changed to give all buffs with one cast, and instead of toxin damage, we now get viral elemental damage on our weapons. This can make guns run non-elemental or other elements while having a bonus viral damage. Casting this ability will devour the enemies inside your stomach, dealing toxin damage to them, while also using them as a resource to give you the following buffs. 1. Healing Grendel on cast. 2. An energy pickup multiplier, basically gaining a lot more energy from one pickup of an energy orb, and synergizes really well with Arcane Energize. 3. Damage Reflection. When enemies attack you, you send out an explosion of viral damage that staggers enemies and procs viral on them. 4. The Viral Elemental Damage Multiplier on your weapons. This ability is his Helminth, and it's already working wonders on frames like Valkyr running her Hysteria build with ever needing to recast it.
Oh, I'm almost gonna run out of energy. I need to kill enemies now. There we go, full energy. Dude, Nourish is broken.
His third ability now is his former fourth ability. This is now more of a utility than an ultimate, and now can be cast without any enemies consumed. While in this form, you gain a health regen per second that starts off strong and then normalizes after a few seconds. Enemies colliding with the ball will have their armor stripped. While in this form, you deal impact damage within a radius while colliding and slamming. This damage scales from power strength and enemies consumed, and the collision radius is affected by the numbers of enemies consumed and not range. Also, while in this form, you don't drain energy, and you're now able to cast your other 3 abilities. You cannot bullet jump during this form, however, you can go into your operator and void sling to higher ground to help you reach places. His fourth ability is now his former third ability, but made better. Regurgitate spits out enemies consumed as a projectile that deals a small AoE toxin damage explosion, while also armor stripping enemies that have been hit by it. This toxin damage scales of power strength and the enemy's remaining health. You will need 134% power strength to fully strip, so in the end, just take Umbral Intensify. So this has to be one of the best reworks. Finally. However, there are some quality of life things that need to be present. When we cast Nourish, I would love to see the percentages of my buffs rather than a small icon. He's a health tank, but with shields to provide better survivability and better armor scaling, making him a lot tankier than a Naros. And even though the ball was made more usable, it still feels clunky and primarily the main one people will Helminth out. It has good utility, but not so much in the damage department, because that definitely needs a buff. Probably along the lines of increasing damage relative to your speed, or every time you collide with an enemy, you build up some sort of kinetic energy, increasing your outgoing damage. Otherwise, a solid frame now, way better than his horrible, useless former self, making him a solid A frame. Welcome to the Cool Kids Club, Grendel. Alright, now that you have an idea of how he works, I have 5 fun builds for you to try out, and they aren't my usual ones, because I'm going for more of a health tank approach on some of these. I will start out with the non-Helminth Pure Grendel kit. This is a very simple combo where I consume enemies, activating my Nourish for the buffs, ramming others while spraying them with my fourth ability to armor strip them and nuke. Only coming out of the ball to kill an Acolyte or an annoying Eximus, because unfortunately Grendel's abilities can't kill Overguard, so I use a heavy attack melee. The build has growing power in the aura for the 25% power strength increase when I proc a status effect, along with the 2 Umbral mods, Augur Secrets, and Molt Augmented. I will have a total of 264% power power strength. The two Umbral mods paired with adaptation gives me some decent health tanking synergy. Range at 175% with reach and stretch. This increases the viral spread and toxin projectile from my abilities. Prime flow for the large energy pool. Arcane energize for the increased energy regen when I pick up an energy orb. Alright, even though this is a fun and meme build, it still kills and holds its ground, but maps with high elevation can be irritating. For the Panzer, I'll be using this build throughout the other builds. Mutagens do not matter. It is the chunky version of Panzer. It lasts longer too because of health and armor link, and the usual utility Panzer mods. For the melee, you can run whatever you want, but in this case, I am rocking the Tenet Livia, modded for quick, heavy attacks, perfect for when acolytes and Eximi appear at inconvenient times. Moving on to the second build, which I have replaced the third ability with another third ability, Thermal Sunder from Gauss. I'll be using both of its heat and cold damage variants, and you can play with this build in two ways. For those who don't know, you can apply the heat status effect on enemies and activate the cold Sunder to create a vacuum to pull in enemies. And the opposite effect happens when you proc it the other way around. For this build, I'm using the mechanic called Heat Inherit. This is a mechanic used to multiply your heat damage over time by combining heat damage procs with multipliers from two different sources into one. For more information, check the card on the top right or the link in the description, where I go a lot more into detail about this mechanic. And I have Archon Vitality here to double the heat damage proc. How this build works is that you have to prime enemies first with your Heat Inherit primer to apply the heat with a faction damage multiplier, and then hit them with Thermal Sunder, and finally spit on them with your fourth ability to armor strip them and have the heat damage finish them off along with the toxin damage over time effect. Taking a look at the build, a brief respite in the aura for the energy to shield conversion. This is used to help replenish your shields to refresh your maximum shield gate value. Power strength is at 144% with just Umbral Intensify alone, and I'll be getting more with Molt Augmented. My Heat Inherit primer is the Epitaph because I get the viral damage bonus from Nourish. Using a secondary weapon for this because it has the highest heat elemental damage multiplier, and Heat Inherit scales on the first proc with the highest multiplier applied. Sticking with the Heat Inherit combo, I will now show you a melee version. This build would finally make viral heat melee work properly and done right without losing damage and killing your modular multipliers and utility on the weapon. Basically what that means is that you don't have to force mods and lose out on useful mods to make something copium work. My melee of choice is Neferi, the dual daggers that spit fire, using its neutral combo to slash and breathe fire. My helmet of choice is Ensnare from Korra. It pulls in the enemies and has them completely incapacitated. This allows me to prime them and armor strip them more consistently with his fourth, and leaving them vulnerable for my melee strikes. The aura can be whatever you want. Similar mods, but now I have the two gladiator mods to increase my crit chance when I build up combo, and they also increase my armor and health. In the arcanes, I have Arcane Strike for the increased melee attack speed. The utility primer is still the same, and my melee build is a basic build, but instead of an additional crit damage mod, I have decided to go with an additional heat damage, as we are getting a massive viral damage increase on our melee. So there is an alternative on this build, and that's to simply switch your aura to Swift Momentum and replacing Arcane Energize for Arcane Avenger for the flat 45% crit chance increase. This way you can replace one Gladiator mod with anything else you want, or just keep them. Have fun with the build. Alright, time for a level cap disruption build. This build can be slightly improved if you have an Umbral Forma, but I highly suggest to use it on the Prime version of Grendel launching later in 2023. It's using Eclipse as its helmet. Eclipse is a weapon final damage multiplier, completely different from what Roar does. If you want to use Roar, you can, but the damage isn't as significant as Eclipse for this particular build. Since my main damage is going to be raw viral damage on clone flesh, that's a 75% damage bonus. We're going to get a 4.25 times damage increase to the health by debuffing them with the viral status effect. So for those who want to fool around with strong single target guns with heavy damage, this build is for you. In this showcase, I'm using the Quellar's alternate fire. You at least need to have a minimum of 2 enemies consumed for this rotation to refresh your Nourish buff, and 1 additional enemy to spit on the Demolist to armor strip them. Taking a look at the build, I have enemy radar in the aura for the consistent excellent enemy radar to help with awareness, power strength at 267% with Augur Secrets, Blind Rage, and Umbral Intensify. This gives my Eclipse a 400% weapon damage multiplier. Arcane acceleration for the rifle fire rate increase when I crit. And now onto my primary of choice, the Quelor. It does come with innate cold, so it can be easily modded for viral with just one elemental mod. I have this elemental mod just in case I run out of my viral damage bonus from Nourish, or I just happen to get nullified. My base damage is coming from the primary Deadhead Arcane to further increase my damage output when I hit headshots. My secondary utility weapon used to prime the Demolus is the Epitaph, but modded differently. It's going to be a gas electric build as I'm outsourcing the viral damage bonus from Nourish. So I get viral, gas, electric, cold, blast, and IPS from the quick tap fire, further increasing the damage output on my Galvanized aptitude. And I highly recommend the Vazarin Focus School for this build, for the protective sling node, because disruption can be pain with enemy toxin weapon and energy drain. Alright, finally, the Spit and Destroy ability nuke build, utilizing his first and fourth ability. This build has Spectral Rage ability from Gara that creates mirrors that distract enemies, but I'm pairing this with its augment Spectral Siphon that has enemies drop energy when they're killed within the mirrors. I'm pairing this up with the Mecha set mods for even more damage and spread. The Aura Mecha Empowered will have a Kubro mark an enemy every 30 seconds for 9 seconds, and the mark target takes 150% extra damage, and the set bonus has the mark target spread the status effects that they were affected with to all nearby enemies within the area when they are killed. In this case, it's going to be viral, gas, electric, and toxin. Yes, the same primer as the disruption build. Equipping additional mecha set mods will increase the range of the spread and not the damage. And for consistent grouping up of enemies, I'm also using the Magus Anomaly Operator Arcane, easily going in and out of my Warframe to pull in enemies into the mirrors. In the Aura, I have Mecha Empowered for the bonus damage on marked targets, power strength at 144% with Umbral Intensify, and I'll further increase that with the Molt Augmented Arcane. Mecha Pulse grants additional 60% armor for each enemy within the area when you kill the marked target. Arcane Eruption for even more crowd control and survivability, basically knocking down enemies whenever I pick up an energy orb, and we're going to be getting a lot of energy orbs. Just careful with this build because you might accidentally eat a marked target. And as for my Kubro, I am using the Vizier Predasite with a very simple build. It helps spread additional status effects and provides some passive healing while also adding onto the Mecha set bonus. For Acolytes and Xmas, just use the melee provided earlier or whatever melee you want. Alright ladies and gentlemen, that has been it from this amazing Grendel rework and build video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and for the people trying out these builds, do have fun with them. By the way guys, I stream and showcase these builds live on Twitch. Do come on over and check it out, along with Variety Games. I stream every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Anyway, if this video was helpful, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.